Hi, welcome back to Concept Mastery lesson. Today we are going to look at estimation, factors, and whole numbers. So it'll be an easy lesson. So we're going to spend time to slowly go through, go through how to tackle each part of these concepts. So let's look at number one. Now 31 times 39. So in P4, you have to learn how to multiply two-digit numbers. So you take 31, and you multiply by 39. Alright, so how do we exactly do this? So you always look at the top number, alright? Always look at the top number, and then you multiply by the 9, which is in the ones place. Okay, so let's take out the 3 so that you don't get confused. Alright, so let me just undo, and okay, so to make it easier for you to multiply, you do step by step. So we don't look at the 3, you look at the 9. Right, 31 times 9. And then you work out your answer. So what is 31 times 9? So you have 1 times 9, that is 9. And then 3 times 9 will be 27. So this is your primary 3 timetable. Alright, primary 3, that's what you do in primary 3. Alright, but in primary 4, you have to do what? You have to multiply by two-digit numbers. So you have a 3 over here. Alright, so now you need to look at the 3. So you take 31 times 3, right? So you take 1 times 3 and you get 3. So where do you put the 3? You put the 3 in the tens place. But why? Because when you multiply by 3, it's in the tens place. So of course your answer will be in the tens place as well. And then 3 times 3 will be 9. Okay? And there's a blank space that you see, you put a 0 there. And then you plus the two numbers. So the last step is to add the two numbers together. And you have 9. And then 7 plus 3 is 10, carry 1. And then 1 plus 10, always make 10 because it's easier to add. If you take 1 plus 2, 3, then 3 plus 9, you have to do finger counting. But if you take 1 plus 9, 10. So and then 10 plus 2, you get the answer much faster. So always make 10 when you do adding. Alright, so what is 31 times 39? So your answer is 1209. Okay? Alright, let's look at one more example. Alright, 45 times 85. So still not hard, but you need to understand how to multiply. So you always look at the top number, which is here. Always look at the top number, and you ignore the 8s. Okay, so ignore the 8s, and you have 45 times 5. So what is 45 times 5? So you have 5 times 5, you get 25. You carry 2 above the next digit. Alright, then you want to multiply. So what is 4 times 5? 20. And then 20 plus the 2, the working, there's a 2 there. So 20 plus 2 will be 22. Alright, now that's primary 3, right? Now in primary 4, you have to multiply two-digit numbers. So now there's a 85 there, there's a 8 there. So now you have to take 45 and you times 8. So how to do? Look at the top number again. And then you take 5 times 8. And you get 40. So where do you put 40? Now, you see the 8. The 8 is in the tens place. So your 40 or the 0 must be also in the tens place. Remember that. Alright? And then the 4 carry above the next digit that you want to multiply. Alright? Which is your 4 times 8. But do you see a working? There's an O working on top, which is a 2. So you need to cancel the O working. Otherwise, you get confused. Any O working that you see, cancel it. Alright? And then now you can take 4 times 8, 32. And then 32 plus the new working, 32 plus 4 is 36. Alright, and where do you put a 3? There's no more number to multiply already, right? So you put a 3 beside the 6, right? And then there's a blank space, you put a 0. And then the last step is to add these two numbers together. And of course, you can see there's another blank space, which is here. It's also a 0. Okay, so now you plus them together, you will have 5, 2, and this is 8, and then this is 3. So what is 45 times 85? That will be 3,825. Okay? Alright, let's do a little bit faster now since we know how to multiply already. So you have 89 times 67. So let's write down 89 and you multiply by 67. Alright, so same thing, you always look at the top number. Alright, I'm going to use different colors to help you break down the steps. Take the top number and you multiply by 7 first. Remember? Right? And so you have 9 times 7. You get 63. And you carry the 6 above the next digit that you want to multiply. And then 8 times 7 is 56. Then you plus 6. That will be 62. 2. Okay, so that is your primary 3. Alright, so primary 4 will be this. So what do you do now? You look at the top number again, right? Top number, and this time you multiply by 6, right? 6. So you have 9 times 6, which is 54. And you got to put the 4 in the tens place. Alright, so you have to put the 4 in the tens place. Okay, let me just lighten the line. Okay. Alright, so let's continue. So you have 9 times 6 is 54, and you carry the 5 on top, right? And you see the O working. There's an O working there, so you cancel the O working, right? And then you have 8 times 6, which is 48, and 48 plus the new working, 48 plus 5 is 53. Alright, 53. So let me just write down 53. Okay, 53. Got it? And then there's a blank space, put a 0 there. And then what do you do next? Last step is always to plus them together. Alright, so 3 plus 0, you get 3. 2 plus 4, 6. And then 6 plus 3 is 9. And of course, there's a blank space, that's a 0 as well. And then 0 plus 5 is 5. So what's your answer? Your answer will be, let me write over here, 5,963. Okay, so that's how you multiply 2-digit numbers. Okay, now, alright. Alright, so let's continue and let's look at the next question. So you have 134 and you multiply by 72. Alright, so now you have to multiply 3-digit number by 2-digit numbers. Alright, so it's still easy, right? Once you understand the concept, just that the number has now become bigger. So we are going to look at the top number again. So every time you multiply, you always look at the top number and don't care about the 7, right? So we remove the 7 and then you have 134 times 2. So what is 134 times 2? So you have 4 times 2, 8, 3 times 2, 6, and 1 times 2 is 2. Right, that's quite easy. Alright, then let's put back the 7 now. Right, put back the 7. And now you have to multiply by 7. Alright, so how to do that? Okay, now look carefully. Take the top number again and you multiply by 7. So let me use a different color. So let's use a black color. So I got 4 times 7, I get 28. So your timetable must be very good. Alright, if your timetable is not so good, you need to practice, memorize. Alright, and otherwise you can't do all this. So 4 times 7 is 28. Put the 8 in the tens place. Why? Because the 7 is in the tens place, right? So where do you put the 2? Right, you carry the 2 above the next digit that you want to multiply. So what's the next digit that you want to multiply? Which is 3 times 7. So 3 times 7 is 21. 21 plus the working on top, that will be 23. So you put 3 there and you carry 2 above the next digit that you want to multiply. So what is the next digit that you want to multiply? Which is 1 times 7, right? Alright, so 1 times 7 is 7. Then you plus 2, which is the working on top. That will be 9. Alright, then the same thing. There's a blank space, put a 0, and you add these two numbers together, which is your final step. So you have 8 plus 0, 8. 6 plus 8 is 14, carry 1. And you have 6. And there's a blank space over on top as well. So just put a 0 there. And then 0 plus 9 is 9. So what is 134 times 72? 9,648. Okay? Alright, let's do one more. Okay, let's do one more example. Alright, so you have 452 times 34. So 452. And you multiply by 34. So always look at the top number to multiply. Alright, and if you're confused how to multiply, what do? Remove the 3 first. Okay, remove the 3, and then you now multiply by 4 first. So you have 452 times 4, right? So 2 times 4 is 8. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry 2 above the next digit that you want to multiply. 4 times 4 is 16. Then plus 2 is 18. Alright, now let's put back the 3. Alright, so let's put back the 3. And same thing, look at the top number again. But this time, you take the top number and you multiply by 3. Alright, so 2 times 3, 6 in the tens place. Put the 6 in the tens place. Then 5 times 3 is 15. So put the 5 here and carry the 1 above the next digit that you want to multiply. And can you see that there's a 2 there? There's a working 2. So cancel the old working. Alright? and then 4 times 3 will be 12, then 12 plus 1 is 13, right? And then put the 0 in the blank space, and you plus them together, right? And what do you get? You have 8, 6, 8 plus 5 is 13, carry 1, and you have 5, and there's a blank space, put a 0, so you have 15,368. Okay? Alright, so I hope you caught it. Right, it's not that hard to multiply two-digit numbers. Alright, so once you're good, you can do a little bit faster. 893, and then you multiply by 92. Alright, so top number again is always the top number. And then you take top number and you times 2 first, right? Times 2. So 3 times 2, 6. 9 times 2 is 18, carry 1 above the next digit that you want to multiply. 8 times 2 is 16, then you plus 1, 17. Okay. Then what do you do next? Then you take the top number and you multiply by 9. Okay, by 9. So 3 times 9, you get 27. Put in the tens place. And the 2 carry above the next digit that you want to multiply. And then 9 times 9 is 81. 81 plus 2, what do you get? 81 plus 2 is 83. And you carry 8 above the next digit that you want to multiply. And there's an old working. Can you see the 1 on top? So you cancel the 1. And now you continue to 8 times 9. Right? 8 times 9 is 72. 72 plus 8, that will be 80. So you put the 8 beside the 0. Right? And there's a blank space. Put a 0 there. And you plus the two numbers together. And you will get 6 plus 0, 6. 8 plus 7 is 15. Make 10. Alright? Like 7 plus 3 is 10. Then later you plus 1. That is 11. Make 10 first. Right? And then 1 plus 1 is 2. Then there's a blank space, so 0 plus 8 is 8. So what's your answer? 82,156. So that's how you work out the timetable. Okay? Alright, so we are done with the multiplication with two-digit numbers. So now let's go on to the next one. And how do we estimate? What is estimate? Now, estimate is something that we all like to do because we don't have to do working, right? Estimate means to get your rough answer, to get something, to get your nearest number, get your nearest tens, nearest hundreds, or nearest thousand, so that you can work out the answer quicker. Alright, you don't want to do working when you're asked to estimate. For example, 91 plus 18 plus 37. If you do the working, well, you get the actual answer, right? But if you're asked to estimate, it means that what is the rough answer? So are you able to tell me what is the estimated answer? So what do we do? Now we round off the numbers to the nearest tens. So for example, 91 nearest tens, what's that? That will be 90. If you still remember how to round to nearest tens, you look at the last digit. Is it 5 and bigger? No. So you don't add 1. So it still remains as 9. So 90, 9 tens. And then 18, what's the nearest tens? That will be 20. And then 37, nearest tens will be 40. So when you round off the nearest tens, you can see that it's easier to add without working. So 9 plus 2 is 11. 11 plus 4 is 15. So you have 15 tens or 150. So what is the estimation? 150. Okay, so estimate means what? It means to round off your numbers to the nearest tens, hundreds, or thousands, right? So that you can get the answer quicker. But take note, estimated answers, your estimation is not the actual answer. It is just something that's very rough. Okay, it's a rough answer. Okay, how about the next one? You have thousands already, right? So 9756, what do? I round off to thousands. Alright, so that it's easier to get the answer quicker. So nearest thousand, what's that? Look at the last 3 digits and look at the biggest place value. That's 5 and bigger, so you add 1 on the next digit. So that'll be 10,000. Alright, the next one is 2302. What's the nearest thousand? You look at the last 3 digits and look at the bigger place value. So it's not 5 and bigger, so you don't add 1. It's still 2000. And then how about 1467? Look at the biggest place value. It is not 5 and bigger, so it's 1000. So you can see that when you round off to thousands, it's very easy to get your estimated answer. So you take 10. 10 plus 2. 10 plus 2 is 12. 12 minus 1. That gives you 11,000, which is your rough answer, estimated answer. Alright, how about 294 times 8? Alright, without the working, how do we estimate? You can round to the hundreds, nearest hundreds. Why not nearest tens? Because remember, when you estimate your answer, you want to be more effective. You want to do your working easier, or you want to have an easier working, right? You don't want to spend too much time working out the answer. So I will change the numbers to nearest hundreds because it's easier to work out. For example, what's the nearest hundreds? You look at the bigger place value, there is 5 and bigger, that will be 300 already, right? 300 times 8, can you get the estimated answer? Yeah, 3 times 8 will be 24, and that is 2400. What happens if I change to nearest tens? That will be 290 times 8. So what happened? You still have to do working, right? 29 times 8. So we want to cut the working, we want to reduce the working by having more zeros, right? Sometimes you want to have more zeros so that it's easier to estimate the answer. Okay, how about the next one? 8423 times 8. Do you want to round off to nearest tens, hundreds, or thousands? I want more zeros because it's easier to estimate. So I round the 8423 to nearest thousand. I look at the biggest place value that is not 5 and bigger, so it's still 8000, and then times 8. So it's easier to work out rather than rounding off to nearest tens or nearest hundreds, right? So 8000 times 8 is easier to get the answer because 8 times 8 is 64 and then 1000. See? So when you want to estimate, usually we don't want the working. We want to cut the working and we want to get the answer as fast as we can. And one way to get the answer as fast as we can, to have more zeros, right? More zeros, you can get the answer faster. Alright, the next one is a little bit tricky when you are dividing. Now, if you round this to nearest hundreds, like 557, you round to nearest hundred, that will be 600 divided by 8. And you still can't really work out what is that, right? You have to do some working to get the answer. So we don't want to round off to nearest hundreds. We want to round off to nearest tens. Why? Because when you round off to nearest tens, what happened? It becomes 560. And then you divide by 8, and can we get the answer even faster? Of course. 56 divided by 8, that'll be 7. And then you put a 0 back. So it's 70, which is faster than rounding off to nearest hundreds. Okay? Alright? But do take note that when you have more zeros in your rounding off, your estimated answer gets further away from the real answer. Alright? From the actual answer. For example, 70. If I round the 557 to nearest tens, I get 560, right? Divide by 8 and I get 70. So 70 is closer to the actual answer than 600 divided by 8, right? So 600 divided by 8, alright, if you do your working, you get 600 divided by 8, you get 75, right? 75. So actually, your 70 is much closer to the real answer compared to 75. Okay? So which means that what Mr. wants to say is, when you have more zeros in your rounding off, in your estimation, your answer gets further. Your rough answer is further away from the actual answer. Okay? But what is estimation? Estimation means you want to get the answer faster. So usually we have more zeros. Okay? But when you divide, you have to be careful because sometimes it's not always effective to have too many zeros. Right? Like for example, number 5, question 5. You want to round off the nearest tens so that it's easier to divide compared to nearest hundreds. Alright, another example. How about 731 divided by 7? Do I want to round off the nearest tens? If I round off the nearest tens, how to divide? You find that you need to do working already. So we don't want to round off the nearest tens. We round off to nearest hundreds, which is 700 divided by 10. Okay, so there's a typing error. So this is divide. So 700 divided by 7, 700 divided by 7, and you can see that it's much faster to get your estimation as compared to nearest tens. Okay, so I hope you got the picture. So when you want to estimate, you have to you want more zeros so that you can get the answer faster. But when you are dividing, okay, when you are dividing, what do? You want to think carefully, right? Whether you want to round off the nearest tens or nearest hundreds so that you can do the dividing faster. Alright, so in question 6, we want to round off to nearest hundreds so that it's easier to divide by 7. Alright, okay, 98 times 45. So what's the estimation? I round to nearest hundreds or nearest tens, nearest tens. 98, what's the nearest tens? That will be 10 tens. How about 45? Nearest tens will be 50. Right, and then you can see that the answer gets, you get the answer quite fast. So 1 times 5, there's 5. How many zeros do you see? There are 3 zeros, so you just put 3 zeros behind. Alright, next one, 327 times 34. So I want to round off to nearest hundreds. So what do I get? Nearest hundred, look at the bigger place value. So that will be 300. Alright, and then nearest tens for 34. What's the nearest tens? That will be 30. Alright, and then you take 3 times 3, that will be 9. And there are 3 zeros behind, just put 3 zeros behind. Alright, next one, 924 times 25. Round off the nearest hundreds. So what's the nearest hundreds? 900. And what's the nearest tens? That will be 30, or 3 tens. And then you take 9 times 3, 27, and then add 3 zeros behind. So that's called estimation. Okay, so it's not that hard to estimate. Right? It's actually quite fun to do estimation because you don't have to do the working actually. Alright, let's go on to the next one. Alright, now how do you find factors of 18? So now we come to factors already. Now, when you want to find factors, there is a proper way to get the factors. You have to start with 1 times 18 and you get 18. So you always start with 1 first. Alright, after 1, then you go to 2. So you have 2 times 9 equal 18. After 2, you get 3. Right, so you have, so your numbers are in order. Your factors are from the smallest to the biggest. So 3 times 6, you get 18. Then 4, cannot. Right, 4 times 5 equal 18, cannot. 5, cannot. 6 times 3, have already. So it's a repeated factor. So you can stop doing any more working already. Alright, so what are the factors? Then you look at the factors which is on this column, right? This column and this column. So these are called your factors. But how do you present your answer? You always start with the smallest factor first. Then comma, 2, comma, 3, comma, 6, comma, 9, and 18. So that's how you present your factors, right? And you get your marks for this. Alright, how about factors of 36? So you have 1 again, always start with 1 times 36. And don't jumble up your factors. Don't 6 times 6 and then later 4 times 9. There must be an order when you present your timetable. So how about 2? Is 2 a factor? You just take 36, divide by 2, and there's no remainder, right? When you divide, there's no remainder, it is a factor. So 36 divided by 2 is 18. And then 3, so is 3 a factor? You take 36 divided by 3, and you get 12. And then 4 times 9, 36. And then 5, cannot. And then 6 times 6, and you get 36. And once you see a repeated factor, you can stop already, right? You see a repeated factor. So how do you write your factors? Again, start with the smallest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And no need to write another 6 because it's the same factor. Then 9, 12, 18, and 36. So these are your factors of 36. Okay, so when you're asked to find factors, you need to write your timetable, right, in order. Okay, now let's go to common factors. Common factors will be also quite easy. So you do the same thing for finding factors. So for example, factors of 16, 1 times 16. After 1 is 2 times 8. Then 3, cannot. Right, 3 times 5 equals 16, cannot. Then 4 times 4 equals 16. So there is a repeated factor. You see there's a 4 again. So you can stop writing out your factors already. Then let's go to 28. So 1 times 28, right? And then it's 2 a factor. You take 28 divide by 2 and you get 14. So once you divide, there's no remainder. Then you have a factor already. 3, cannot. Right, 28 divided by 3, you get a remainder. 4 times 7, 28. 5, cannot. 6 times what? Also cannot. 7, have already. See, there's a factor there already. So we don't need to continue writing any more factors. So we stop. And then what are common factors? They are factors that look the same or they are the same. So you have 2. So it's good to circle and you need to circle the common factors. 4. And then any more? There's no more already, right? Alright, so your common factors will be 1, 2, and 4. Alright, so that's how you find the common factors. Alright, quickly let's go to another example. Right, if you're still a bit confused on how to find common factors. So find the common factors of 12 and 18. So you have to find the factors of 12 first. So 1 times 12, and then 2 times 6. After 2 will be 3. Right, 3 times 4. After 3 is 4, but you have 4 already, so you can stop once there is once you see there's a 4. Right? Please don't write 4 times 3. Alright, because 3 times 4, 4 times 3 the same. Alright, factors of 18. So 1 times 18, and then 2 times 9, and then 3 times 6. 4 is 4 a factor? You just take 18 divided by 4. Do you get a remainder? If you get a remainder, that is not a factor. 5 times 4 equal 18? Cannot. 6? Have already. There's a 6 there. So what are the common factors? So you circle, alright, circle the common, the same numbers. And a 3, and there's a 6 as well. And any more? There's no more same factors already. So you write down 1. Always start with the smallest. When you write your factors, start with the smallest factor. 1, 2, 3, and 6. Alright, and these are your common factors. Okay, so it's very easy to find factors and common factors. Okay, finally, let's come to the multiples, which is much easier because there's shortcuts. Alright, there's a shortcut. Now, write down the first 10 multiples of 3. So it's your timetable. Like timetable, 1 times 3, that's the first multiple. Second multiple of 3 will be 2 times 3. Third multiple, fourth multiple means 4 times 3. Fifth multiple means 5 times 3. And if you look at the numbers you have written, there is a pattern. You plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, right? So you have 18. So how many multiples already? There'll be 6 multiples already. Then 7 times 3, 8 times 3, 9 times 3, and 10 times 3. So these are the 10 multiples of 3. Okay? Alright, what are the multiples of 4? So you have 1 times 4, that's the first multiple. 2 times 4, second multiple. 3 times 4, third multiple. 4 times 4, fourth multiple. 5 times 4, fifth multiple. And 6 times 4, 7 times 4, 8 times 4, 9 times 4, and the 10th multiple, 10 times 4. Right, so multiples are, so when you write multiples, you write a list of numbers. But if you write factors, right, how do you get factors? You have to something times something, right? Something times something to get your factors. But multiples, you have a list, a string of numbers. Okay, next one, multiples of 9. So 1 times 9, 2 times 9, 3 times 9, 4 times 9, 5 times 9, 6 times 9, 7 times 9. So your timetable must be very good. And 10 times 9. Alright, so you need your timetable. Alright, let's check again. 1 times 9, 2 times 9, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, sorry, make a mistake. So what is 8 times 9? 8 times 9 is 72. Alright, 8 times 9. 9 times 9. And 10 times 9. 10 times 9 is 90. So let's go through one more time. This is the first multiple, second, third, fourth multiple of 9, fifth multiple, sixth multiple of 9, 7 multiple, 8. This is okay. 8 multiple of 9, which is 8 times 9. 9 multiple of 9 means 9 times 9. 10 multiple of 9 means 10 times 9. Okay, so that's how you call your multiples. Alright, now how do you find common multiples? Now this is your shortcut. Alright, so you may want to open your ears very big because shortcuts helps you to do faster and avoid mistakes. So can you find the first 2 common multiples of 2 and 9? Yeah, you first of all, you don't have to list out the multiples of 2. Alright, you just look at the bigger number, which is your 9. And can you list out the multiples of 9? 18, right? So you write out the next multiple, which is 18. And then can 18 divide by 2? Can. So 18 divided by 2 is 9. So you jump a lot of numbers, and you can see that your common multiple, your first common multiple is actually 18, right? So you have the first multiple already. Then how do you get the second common multiple? You don't have to keep writing 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. No need. There is a shortcut. The shortcut is to take the first common multiple, and then you just times 2, right? So 18 times 2, you get the second common multiple. Alright, and you also skip a lot of numbers in between. So if I want to get the third common multiple, I do the same thing. Alright, I don't have to write many multiples. I look at the first common multiple and I times 3. So 18 times 3, and over here also 18 times 3. So that's my third common multiple. You just take 18, go back to the first common multiple, and you times 3 to get the third common multiple. and you do the same for the fourth, the fifth common multiple, and so on. So this is a shortcut. You avoid a lot of numbers in between. So what are the first two common multiples? So you have 18 and 36. So that's how you do faster in the exams. Alright, what are the multiples of 4 and 6? Okay, now many of you, some of you who make mistake is because you write down 4 times 6, 24. Right? That is not the first common multiple. You look at the bigger number again and write down the multiples of the bigger number, 12, right? So 6, 1 times 6, then 2 times 6 is 12. Can 12 divide by 4? Can. So 12 is your first common multiple. Okay, and not 24. Right, some of you like to multiply each other. You like to do cross multiplication, or you like to do 2 times 9, for example. What you want to find 4 and 6, right? You like to do 4 times 6 to get the common multiple, but that is not your first common multiple. Alright, so what is the next common multiple? Now the next common multiple will be 12 times 2. Alright, so again you skip a lot of numbers in between. You just take the first common multiple and you times 2 to get the second common multiple. So you have 12 and 24, which is your first two common multiple. And if I want to get the third common multiple, what do? I take 12 and then times 3. I get 36, which is my third common multiple. Alright, next one. Question, last one. What is the common multiple of 5 and 8? So I would not like to do 5 times 8, 8 times 5, alright? Because you just saw that if you do that for number 2, you get 24, which is not the first common multiple. So I would like to look at the bigger number and write out the multiples of the bigger number. So can 16 divide by 5? Cannot. Go to next one. 24, right? So yeah, 1 times 8, 2 times 8, 3 times 8. Can 34 divide by 5? Cannot. So keep going. Can 32, which is the next multiple, 32 divided by 5? Cannot. So keep going. Now 40. Can 40 divide by 5? Can. So your 40 is your first common multiple, right? And what is the second common multiple? You just take 40 and then you times 2. And that's how you get the second common multiple. So you have 40 and 80. Alright, now why must you know multiples and factors? Because when you come to some section C problem, right, there will be some challenging problems that will require you to use factors and multiples to work out the problem. So, but to do that, you must first know how to find your multiples first, how to find your factors. Alright, okay, so we come to the end of our lesson 2 on PSLE concept mastery. So I hope that this second lesson has really helped you to clarify your doubts on how to find factors. Those of you who still don't know how to find factors, I hope the lesson is able to help you, and how to estimate your answer, and how to multiply 2-digit numbers. Alright, so if you're still not sure, play the video again and then run through everything. And these are the concept. These are the easy parts of the lesson. And if you know how to do all this, then you should be able to have a good pass for your math, right? For the easy questions, right? Those session A, session B, all right, those easy questions, you should be able to do okay for all those questions. All right, so we come to the end of our concept mastery. So I will see you on the next Tuesday at 8 p.m. All right, so see you next Tuesday.